All right, so there's been a lot of chatter lately about what's wrong with Los Angeles Dodgers ace Clayton Kershaw. I mean, I get it. He's the best pitcher in baseball, but he's having a season that can be considered rather pedestrian, especially with what we've come to expect from him. Sure, he's already got 2 losses on the year after amassing only 3 in 27 starts last year. Sure, if the season ended today, he'd have an ERA higher than any other season other than his rookie campaign, and by 1 full point no less. He already has more than half his amount of home runs than all of 2014. Now, the news isn't all bad. He does lead the league with a 32.7 strikeout rate and with total strikeouts. But the thing that surprises me is that anybody is really surprised by his lack of effectiveness this year. I can't really think of any modern pitcher, aside from maybe Mariano Rivera, who has not seen this happen to them at some point in their career, even if it's just one rogue season. Some recover, some don't, but nobody is immune. Now, a prime example of this is Tim Lincecum. He goes from Rookie of the Year in 2007 at age 22, follows that season up with 2 consecutive Cy Young Awards, becoming the first pitcher in history to do so in his first 2 full seasons. Following season in 2010, at the age of 25, he wins a World Series with the Giants, setting franchise records all over the place. Along the way, he wins strikeout titles, shutout titles, and hurls a pair of no-hitters. I mean, him and Sandy Koufax are the only 2 players to ever have multiple no-hitters, Cy Youngs, and World Series championships. That's quite a company to keep in the record books. So a betting man would say this guy could be the best pitcher in our generation, maybe the best ever. I know I thought so. And then what happens? He goes and finds himself struggling. Velocity dips, home runs and walks skyrocket to the point where one would guess if he wasn't being paid so much, he might be in the minors right now. Sure, he won 2 more World Series rings, but he wasn't even a starter for them, even being left off the postseason roster for the first round. Now imagine that. The best pitcher in the world turns into the worst pitcher on his own team. And how did all this happen? Well, the major problem seems to be his stats across the board took a dive when pitching out of the stretch with runners on base. That's it. Best in the world to middle reliever, all because of base runners. While his stats overall look okay, when it comes to runs on the line, he falters. Now this brings us back to Mr. Kershaw. His stats more or less are consistent with his prior seasons, except for one. His effectiveness was runners on base. Now many want to take a look at his advanced metrics or things that may be considered incidental. Say, oh, he'll be fine. His fastball average is up 0.4 miles an hour. His swing and miss ratio is up by a whole 0.1%. No problem at all. And all those things are true. He isn't hanging curveballs, he isn't losing control, and he looks more or less like the same dominant pitcher we have come to expect. But look at his average with runners in scoring position. Last year, 198. This year, 333. Now that's a statistical jump worth noting. Add that to the fact that he's putting runners on base at a higher clip than any other point in his career, and this issue starts to take shape. This highlights something that doesn't get discussed a lot when taking a look at all these convoluted and advanced stats. They simply don't keep runs off the board. Look, I'm not saying that Kershaw is destined to go the way of Lincecum. There are plenty of examples of anomalous years in the careers of athletes across the board. All I'm saying is that I'm not convinced as many that this has nothing to worry about, and he will no doubt recover and return to the superb dominance that he had previous to this season. Because there is a chance that he won't. I mean, Lincecum is having a better season right now than Kershaw, so nothing is impossible. One thing I can say, hitters better enjoy his struggles while they last.